Hey, Andrew here. Thank you for joining. And I'm just finishing getting set up. Sorry, it's doing these. It's always a bit. Got to do this, got to do that, make sure everything's working. So bear with me just a moment. I just want to make sure I get this link for the book. So if you haven't got a copy of it, you can not have to dive all around the internet and try and find it. So bear with me just 1 second. I'm just going to pop that in right there. Boom, there we go. Okay, that's all set. So what we're doing right now is this is the first live book review that I'm doing. I'm going to make this probably a weekly thing. I've got a lot of books that I've already read. I'm reading, shooting for at least one book a month right now. So I feel like I've probably got about about a year or two worth of books that I can do a weekly book review. So this is something that I'm really passionate about. I love teaching and training people. I also love taking in knowledge and developing myself. So this is something that is really just feels right to me. So I really want you to get a lot of value out of this. So I'd love any feedback you have, any comments, put them in below, message them to me, whatever works. And we will just keep making these better and better and better each and every week. Okay, enough housekeeping stuff. Let's get into it. That's what you're here for. So, happy pocket full of money. You can't see that. It's Facebook Live does funny things when you're using your camera that you can see yourself on. And I'm not going to switch around. So, happy pocket full of money. Just think of it as backwards. That's the cover of the book. This will take you, the link on Amazon there will take you to get a copy of this. Where to start with this book? It's interesting is one way to put it. So I've got some notes here. They're a bit choppy because the book really is a bit of a wild ride through some really deep and interesting topics. One overarching topic, but how it approaches it is kind of very unique and different. But I'll just kind of chronologically go through the book a little bit, but just really touch. This is going to be a really high level touch. I don't want to go too long. You could dive really deeply into this book in a review, and I don't want to do that. I just want to keep this as simple as possible. And really encourage you to go and get the book and read it for yourself, because as good as book reviews are, they're like the Cliff Note versions when you're in school. You only get that little bit, it's someone else's interpretation, and you don't get the real value of everything that you should be getting out of a book. So let's do it. Okay, so the book title itself is kind of funny. A Happy Pocket Full of Money, Infinite Wealth and Abundance in the Here and Now. So how to start, how to describe it? The overall concept is around wealth and happiness, wealth and abundance, and the mindset and the mental state that goes with that, and what in the book it calls the wealth consciousness. And there's going to be a phrase that you'll see in the book repeatedly once you get about a chapter in or so, and it's I am wealth, I am abundance, I am joy. And these three little micro sentences are repeated throughout the book numerous times per page in bold text, and really it's about putting into your subconscious of what you are or what I am. And it's something that is very powerful, and if you've done any study around the power of the mind and what you can kind of almost, I don't like the whole will things necessarily into state. You still do the work and stuff like that, but if you put yourself into a mindset of positivity, of gratitude, of abundance, of everything else like that, then you're in a much better place to start with, going into actually doing the work, and the results are going to flow through to you much more efficiently. So the book really starts out in quantum physics, and if you have no idea what quantum physics is, then you're probably amongst 99.999% of the world's population as well. Really what quantum physics is, and it's a very new study, I guess, or reason, relatively new, it dives into how the universe, and well beyond just the world, but how the universe is really interconnected with everything. Dives down into the quantum level of everything, so even sub-nucleus level of everything, and matter, and how we are all just really energy, and energy is boundless. It flows, it's here, it's there, it's everywhere. There is no time, there is no here, there's no future, there's no past. It's just now. And it's kind of it's a bit trippy in a way to start thinking about that, but the more you get into the book, it's really well explained. It's not overly techy. I finished my tea. I have to go to the water. It's not overly techy, so you're not going to get lost if you're not a physicist or anything like that. But it will definitely give you a base level understanding of how this all works. So don't let that put you off by any means. So it talks about what we're made of, how we're energy, how really the physical manifestation that we see ourselves in is all just moving energy, all created and all constantly moving and flowing and everything else. And it even touches on how time really doesn't exist, so to speak. And like I said, it gets a bit heavy, and I'm not saying you have to believe this or whatever else, but just the principles and some of the underlying stuff is definitely in there, and has a lot that you can resonate with and start to understand. So some of the other really good key points out of the book is around the importance of mental creation. Stephen Covey talks about this in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, with one of the points, and that's around everything's created twice, first mentally and then physically. And if we are clear in how and what we want to have created or to come into fruition in our lives, that second physical creation literally will just flow to us really quite scarily easily once we have that mental, because once we've got something mentally in our mind in minute detail, we can really start to get it just becomes like it is real anyway. So let's take, for example, and the easiest examples with a lot of this stuff is money, business, stuff like that. So everyone kind of has a dream house maybe, or a dream vacation, or a dream car in their mind. So let's take a dream car, for example. Okay, and I'll use my own personal example. My dream car is a Porsche. Okay, and I could have a desire and a mental creation to get a Porsche, and that's all well and good, but to really get that ultra clear and everything else, I need to go and dive into what type of Porsche. Is it the Cayenne, the SUV? Is it the 911? Is it a Boxster? What is it? So you need to dive into the model, you need to dive into the color, the type of wheels you want, the accessories you want on it, where do you want to pick it up from, in which dealership do you want to go and get it from, how is it going to smell, what's the first song you're going to play in it when you get it started up. All these things that you can start to create in your mind will just make it that much more real to you mentally. And once it's mentally real to you, the physical part will come very soon after, because you're going to have this absolute crystal clear image in your head. Same thing goes for your dream house, vacations, helping charities reach their targets through sponsorships and stuff like that, helping your communities grow, your kids' school, whatever it is. These are the types of things that you can just be striving to achieve again and again and again. Now, along with this comes the goals. We're told, and you've probably heard of SMART goals and things like that. And that's all well and good, but the thing with goals is we usually limit ourselves quite to our own detriment by just coming up with a list of 2, 3, 5, 10, maybe 20 goals that we have, the car, the house, the trip, whatever it is, you got a dozen or so things that you've got on your goal list. The problem with goals is as you start achieving these, the problem is that you, as soon as you start achieving these and they get crossed off your list, unless you're replacing them constantly, you will start to lose the power of those goals. So in the book, David actually talks about creating a list of 5,000 goals. 5,000, 5,000. So that might seem like an absolutely ridiculous amount of goals, but once you actually start writing them, you can really start creating a list of goals very quickly that gets into the hundreds and then the thousands very quickly, because you just little things like a goal of drinking, if you drink wine, a bottle of Grange, which is one of the top 3 wines in the world. Maybe you want to have a glass of that in your life. Maybe you want to fly privately on a private jet one time. Maybe you want to give $100,000 to your favorite charity one year. Things like this, and these are massive goals. And maybe you want to give $100 a month to your favorite charity, then you want to give $1,000 a month. And these are all separate goals, but as you build them up, they can become that 5,000 as you expand your income, which expands your ability to give and everything else. So don't limit your goals to a certain number. Just keep creating them in your mind and be clear about those goals. And remember, wealth is the abundance of everything. It just doesn't have to do with money. So typically we are instilled with wealthy people and just have a lot of money. And that really isn't the case. There's a lot of really rich people that you wouldn't necessarily class as wealthy because they don't have a wealth of knowledge. They don't have a wealth of happiness. They don't have a wealth of giving and all these other things that really wealth embraces. So think beyond just this narrow little view of what wealth, maybe what you've seen as wealth, and it expands way beyond what just money. And how do we get a wealth consciousness? What is a wealth consciousness? Well, let's give a bit of an example. Okay, so in the book it talks about you need to have a state of mind need to be in a state of wealth. Okay, so this is where the whole mental thing as well comes in. You can be being in a state is very different to how you might feel or something like that. So let's say happiness. Generally, most of us have experienced a level of happiness at one point in time. Even if you have to go back to your childhood, you would have periods of happiness and joy and pleasure in that. And you would also know that you can go from being happy to not being happy, or you can go from not being happy to happy at the blink of an eye, right? You can cause yourself to be happy. Now, you can only be happy or you're not happy. There's no in between. And that's the same with the state of mind of wealth. You can either be wealth or you're not wealth. And that's where you need, and this is a really difficult, but a challenging thing to get into your mind. And it's something I'm still working on. But the more you tell yourself, I am wealth, I am wealth, I am wealth, or be wealth, get to that state. It doesn't mean you have to have the money right now, but remember, wealth isn't just the money. So you need to, so just look at my notes. So you cannot do a state or speak a state. You can only be a state. You can't speak happy, you can't do happy. You can fake it maybe for a little bit, but you can only be a state. So that's something that's really, I think, important to keep in mind of. And if you have any questions about this while you're watching, pop them in the comments while you're live here, or if you're not live and you're watching this as a replay, definitely pop comments in and I'll come back and get them answered for you as much as possible. But get the book, that's really the most important thing. First comment has a link to get it. Okay. I'm just going to go through. Another really important thing is certainty. Okay, and this comes up a lot in a lot of things. People try to do things. People try to do a business. They try to play a sport, and they kind of dip their toes in the water, and they don't really give it them all. They don't throw themselves into it. And the problem with that is you've got no certainty about what you're doing, and your body physically, your mind mentally, your spiritual self, your emotional, your whole being, and because of quantum physics, the universe around you knows that even more than you know that, which means you're basically screwing yourself from the get-go and limiting yourself because you're not allowing or not dictating to the universe, to your mind, to your body, with absolute certainty of what you're going to do. So if you are going to start a business, take up a hobby, do a sport, something, you have to do it with absolute certainty. Believe it with your entire being. And again, it comes down to like faith. Religion, love it or hate it, doesn't matter. People of faith, which usually comes with religions, know for certain what they believe. Now, we could sit here and have a whole other discussion around who's right, who's wrong, and everything else. That's not what this is about. But that certainty, that faith in what people believe needs to be taken into all areas of our lives. And when you do that, that's when you can really be persistent and the results are going to come. Because remember, you got the law of cause and effect, or maybe karma, if you want to call it that. When you cause something, there will be an effect, and it can be even subconscious, but it does happen. Let's see what else. Another really good thing, and this is something that a mastermind group that I'm in, we talked about this yesterday on the training that we have with that every week, is there is no actual failure in the world. Okay, now if you're in, just about any country, the school and education system that we're indoctrinated with teaches us that you either pass or you fail. You have success or you're not good enough. You've got all these absolutes, so to speak, and you've also got these typically bell curves that do not allow everyone to get the perfect grade necessarily and stuff like that, even though everyone might or should or has the potential to get perfect grades. There's this really misaligned way things are done. So when you do something and you don't get the result that you had desired, maybe, or what you've determined to be success, it didn't mean that you failed. It means that you've now learnt something that you didn't know before. So it's all a learning experience. And if I'm looking away, I'm just looking at my notes, so bear with me with that. I'm not trying to ignore you. So when you take action, that alone is a massive thing that most people in the world just don't do. There's statistics out there. I'm not going to even try and get them right necessarily, but approximately, people that buy personal development type books, not necessarily fiction, but probably even applies to fiction books, but books in general, there is a reasonably large percentage of people that will actually never finish reading the book that they have bought. If I look on the bookcase I've got here, I've probably read at least 3/4 of all the books on there in their entirety. Quite a few I've bought at the end of on Black Friday last year, so I've still got them to read, and they're on my list. One of them was this book, Happy Pocket Full of Money. So I'm getting through them, and audio CDs as well, or training courses, or a lot of different stuff. People will buy it with the intention to do it, but they don't have certainty. They haven't set a clear-minded goal and outcome, and they see that if they don't finish it, they're a failure, and that implanting of this idea of failure will only breed more failure, because you talk yourself out of even starting to do something, because you go, if I can't be successful, I'm just not going to do it. And I could probably name a few examples of that. Art for me is one of those things. Not art that's watching this now, but art, drawing, painting, any artistic type activity. I have this mental image of how I want things to turn out and how I want it to be presented in a physical form, but communicating that through my hands is something that just doesn't quite, it becomes more frustrating to me. And it's not that I necessarily fail, it's not always pretty, but it's something that I really have never been able to succeed at the level that I want to succeed at. So it's something that I've never really done a whole lot of. Now, mind you, Kelly, my wife, is amazing. She hasn't had the time to do as much as she should, but she has amazing abilities, especially with like pastels and stuff. She was doing that quite a bit when we were living in Australia, and her skill set was like, whoa, I had no idea. And it's definitely something that is on her goal list, to get the equipment and the tools and the resources back to be able to do that again. So don't ever think you failed, because there is no failure. It's all about feedback and learning and course correcting and pivoting and whatever else you want to phrase it, to move towards that, what you've called or got in your mind of what success is. Okay, let's move on. And this is something that's really powerful, and it's something that you might not even be aware, or you wouldn't be aware of. I certainly wasn't aware of, and it's the use of the word want. Okay, want is a really it's a word that just means you never actually, or implies you're actually never going to get it. It puts you into a state of wanting, and in a state of wanting, you never actually get it, because you're constantly wanting. Okay, does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So when you want something, you always want it. So I want you to take the word want out of your vocabulary right now, kill it, remove it, never say it again, and replace it with the word desire. Okay? So, or wish it, desire it, or wish it. And I've been telling Kelly this a bit after I read this, because she would say, I I want to do this. Or I said, no, desire it, desire it, desire it. Because this really changes how we think about an item or thing, and you desire, and it's how your body and the universe responds to it. Like I said, wanting puts you into a state of wanting, and that remains there, but desire is a state of just not having it right now. Okay, so desire implies to your subconscious that it will come into your possession or into your sphere, or whatever the case may be, depending on what it is. So that's a really important thing to distinguish between desire and want. If you can do that, you are already a massive step ahead of everything and into achieving your results. And a couple of last key points. First one is have a purpose. I believe we're created to work, we're created to produce, we're created to bring value to the world. Our bodies, if you look at it, will start to deteriorate if we just sit around and do nothing. As fun as that sounds like it could be, it will start to destroy you from the inside out. Mentally it will, because you'll just become this, you'll enter in basically a state of depression. Physically, your body will start to atrophy, your muscles start to get weaker, they'll shrink, whatever. If you're eating really bad food, you'll start to put on weight and fat and everything else, energy levels die off and everything else. So there's all these negatives when we don't produce and aren't active and doing things with a purpose. So what's your purpose? You need to find it. You need to identify within yourself what's your superpower. What makes you you? For me, it's doing stuff like this. Training people, teaching people, communicating in a way that they can learn and become better themselves. Whether it's on something like this, where it's a video and it's I can interact live with people, or it's on YouTube, or our website, buildyourbestself.net, or if it's one-on-one in a phone call or sitting in a coffee shop, whatever it is, I love it. I love to teach people and to help them and train them. And it's even anything, and it doesn't have to be this stuff. I love teaching people technical skills as well. And I believe that I have the ability to take any training material and I can communicate it to a group. That's my passion, that's my purpose. And that's what I've identified as being. What yours is could be anything. You could be the best, whatever. It doesn't matter. The world needs you. Okay, you've been created uniquely with a set of skills and abilities, and you need to find what those are and harness them. Okay, once you've done that, you will feel it. It'll make you feel good. It'll make you feel great, and you'll want to take that to the world. And when you can do that, you can actually then do something that most of the world has no idea about, and that is monetize it and make it your bread and butter, so to speak. Build a business out of it, help other people out of it, help other people with it, and just own it and make it yours. So that's really what, and it's going to provide a compass to your life, so to speak, and it's going to bring you joy and everything else that comes along with that. So a couple of last things is really about the whole abundance and joy part of this. You need to give back, and whether it's your time, your money, your resources, whatever it is, you need to give back to your community, to your family, to your friends, to your family, to the world at large. If you're not a wealthy person as far as money goes right now, give your time. Volunteer at a shelter or a soup kitchen or something like that. Donate items that you don't use anymore. We all have too much crap in our house that we don't need. We have 3 of the same thing. Sometimes we have whatever. Give it to someone else that will need it and be able to use that. Giving back is so important, and as you build your wealth in all areas of your life, your giving back should be compounding as you do that, even more so. Be grateful. Gratitude is amazing. I was really hesitant with reading a book called The Magic. It's part of the Secret series. I was always really kind of skeptical about The Secret when I first heard about it, the whole, think I'm good enough and it'll come to be. Well, it's obviously a bit deeper than that, but I really, now that I've actually started reading it and stuff, the simple concept of being grateful each and every day for everything in your life, and even the things that aren't in your life yet, has really positive and powerful implications to you physically, to you mentally, and everything else. I'm far from perfect, believe me. Kelly will be the first to test. I can be really snippy, and especially if I haven't got much sleep or things don't go my way sometimes. Old Andrew comes out, as she says, and it's part of the learning. It's not that I've failed, but I need to course correct. I need to pivot. But gratitude is certainly something that I practice every day. I write down 10 things that I'm grateful or thankful for in all areas of my life. The sun shining today, the good night's sleep our girls got and didn't wake up, health. And when you are healthy, be extra thankful for that, because you know what? It's typically we're only thankful for when things go bad with our health, but the more you're thankful for health as it is right now and being healthy and staying healthy, the more that's likely to continue, because you again, your mental thing around gratitude and everything does play into your physical health as well. So gratitude, that's pretty self-explanatory. So be grateful. And the last thing is really about abundance and happiness. We should be living our life in abundance. The world screams at us that there's with this scarcity mindset. We're taught from an early age there's only so much. There's the phrase that every parent, I think, has ever used is money doesn't grow on trees, or there's only this much, whatever it is. We've only got a budget for this. That's not how we should be living. We should all be living with, it's not that we should be spoiling our kids or anything, far from it. Kelly and I are the first to admit we will never be spoiling our girls, because one, we didn't grow up like that, and two, there's too much evidence in this world right now of spoiled little kids that grow up into spoiled adults. It's all about appreciating what you have and knowing that you only need a certain amount necessarily. But a natural state that we should desire is abundance and happiness. So by providing value, giving, having gratitude, having belief, taking action, this will come to be. And one of the really important things is, remember, money isn't real. You might be going, what? Well, it's not. I hate to break it to you if you had this hallucination that money was real, but it's just a material item that the government or people have put their trust and faith in, that it has this certain amount of value. And it's used to complete transactions. A few thousand years ago, they were using animals to trade with, and that was a form of money. And whatever else. And different cultures have different values for things and are used to do in like a barter system or whatever. So money is just a variation of that. So, it's the thing that you can do with money is what actually matters. And that's why having a wealth consciousness, having almost a desire to have money is not necessarily a bad thing, because when you have your 5,000 goals and a large percentage of those are about giving away money, helping other people, charities, organizations, creating legacies, whatever it is, having money, you need money to do those things. That's just the way the world works. So don't for a minute think that your desire to be rich financially to have a big income or whatever else is a bad thing. It's what you intend to do with that money or that income that will determine whether it's good or bad, so to speak. And really, good or bad is relative anyway. So last point I want to touch on is, some of the greatest challenges people have in being wealth is believing that they can. I've said it before, it's removing that scarcity mindset that we've been indoctrinated by with society. Kelly and I have had this conversation over the last few months, and I'm sure she won't mind me sharing this, but she has voiced a couple of times to me about how it's a real limiting belief that she has about incomes and earning X amount per month in income from a business or from whatever. It doesn't matter what it's from, but earning the kind of income that we are looking at earning to fulfill the things that we want to fulfill with our life and give back and everything else, then it's something that we still need to overcome. And until we do, and both of us, because obviously we're married and it's our family and it's our business and stuff like that, it can be that little roadblock and that little bit in your mind that just prevents from those breakthroughs that you need to have. So hopefully she didn't mind me sharing that, but I think it's really important to be transparent and honest with everything going on, because if we're struggling with it, a large amount of other people are going to be struggling as well. But it can be overcome and it can be done, and books like this and connecting with people that are like-minded is one of the biggest ways that you can do that. So that's where I'm going to leave it there. So if you do have any questions, feel free to comment on them, message me with them, whatever you're comfortable doing. Grab a copy of the book. It's really a great read. Not challenging, like I said, even though quantum physics is the first big chunk of it. Kelly is it's on her reading list to do as well. So grab a copy of A Happy Pocket Full of Money by David Cameron Gikandi. So that's what the cover looks like. It is backwards. I apologize for that. I've got a photo, I think, on my wall if you want to go and grab that and just have a look at it the right way around. I think it's in black and white, but you can see that. Click on the link, it'll take you and you can find it. I think it's about $17 on Amazon. So have a great rest of the day wherever you are. Thanks for paying attention and watching, and I'll see you on the next video, live book review. I'm not sure if it'll be Thursday every week, but definitely every week between Monday and Sunday I will be doing a live book review like this. And if you find it value, love for you to put a comment that you want next, and I'll let you know what the next one will be. So have a great day, and I appreciate you being here, and we'll talk soon. Bye. Bye.